Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. The intercom crackled as a contraction slammed me forward. Emergency ride now. My palm slipped on the button. Static, then a laugh that cut sharp. Natural selection handles it. Her words landed like ice. I stared at the door and braced for the next wave. I'm Mara, 31. I kept my voice flat. Please, I'm crowning early. My breath hitched, then steadied. Call an ambulance, she chirped, voice sweet and smug. Another click, then silence, dead air, and a deadline. The hallway felt narrow, and the choice felt brutal. I dialed my husband and listened to the ring. Mom's freaking out, he whispered, tone stretched thin. She thinks you're dramatic, another contraction bit deep. Pick me up or I drive, I said. A car horn on his end, then a pause. Traffic is insane, he exhaled hard into the phone. I can't get through for 30 minutes, my hand shook. Stay put and wait for help, I stared at the door. Help said no, I answered, voice steady now. I ended the call before he filled the silence. Keys, shoes, front lock, I moved like a drill. Each step felt timed with a countdown. The next contraction chewed through my plan. I dropped to a knee and breathed in fours. Stand up or pass out, one choice only. I reached the car and jabbed the fob. Seat belt, ignition, everything clicked like a code. The engine coughed alive and the street yawned open. I rolled out and checked the mirror once. No one behind me, no cavalry, no backup. First light went green like a dare. My chest loosened, I took it clean. Second light blinked yellow, then red. I braked hard and counted the seconds. Sweat beaded and the baby pressed south. A delivery truck veered, horn blaring like a challenge. I froze, then punched the gas. We cleared by inches, my ribs burning hot. Adrenaline lit every nerve like a fuse. If I stopped, I would not start again. Phone buzz, group chat lit up mid-turn. Sister-in-law posted a meme about fitness. Survival jokes stacked with clapping emojis. I bit my tongue until copper dotted my lip. Fine, receipts later, breathing now. Hospital sign loomed like a finish line. I swung into the bay and killed the engine. A guard waved, then saw my belly drop. Wheelchair sprinted toward me, squeaking a warning. I let go of the door and of pride. Where's your partner? Clipboard hovered near my face. Stuck in traffic, I answered, jaw set tight. Any support coming? I met the nurse's eyes. They chose opinion over action, I managed. Her ready nod felt like a promise. Gowned monitors on, the belt hugged too tight. Ride the wave, the nurse coached with calm. I locked eyes on a clock ticking slow. Water broke with a shock that stole breath. Fear rose, then flattened under purpose. Pushing started like a verdict, I bore down. The room narrowed to pulse, pressure, and orders. Again, good, again, the nurse anchored me. I counted 8 and pushed through fire. No screaming, just work and a target. Silence hit like a trap after the last hard push. No cry, no proof, only the clock. Breathe, the nurse urged, steady and firm. A thin wail sliced the quiet at last. My lungs remembered how to move. They wiped the tiny face and checked vitals. I scanned the doorway for familiar shoes. Nothing, only the hiss of oxygen and wheels. My throat closed around words I refused. I pressed my palm to a new heartbeat. The nurse tucked a blanket and watched me watch. You're not alone, she offered, voice even. I nodded, not trusting anything soft. Alone is still decisive when the door stays shut. Decisive beats polite every single time. My phone glowed again with a fresh ping. They wanted weight, name, and a pic. Not one line that started with sorry. I saved everything like evidence in a file. Later those lines would buy my spine steel. The nurse lifted her brow. Feed or rest? Feed first, I signaled with a small tilt. The latch took strong and sure. Warmth spread, pain receded just enough. Resolve settled deeper than any scar. Footsteps paused outside, then drifted away. I pictured a doorbell that owed me nothing. I pictured a car that did not stall. I pictured boundaries written in permanent ink. When the next knock came, I would choose. The bassinet started rolling for the hearing check, and my phone rattled. Unknown number flashing again, I swiped decline with a steady thumb. The orderly paused and waited for a nod. I nodded once. If they wanted access, they could earn it first. Approved visitors, the nurse held a clipboard like a gate. Only my spouse, I answered, breath even and fixed. Anyone tries to push through, call this room first. She marked a box and met my eyes. Good, one lock clicked shut. The door knocked before she finished the form. He slipped inside with a coffee and a grin. I let it sit on the tray untouched, no prize today. Add them to the list, he asked, shoulders tense. I pointed to the form and didn't blink. They stayed home last night, he rubbed his jaw hard. They want to make it right, he glanced at the door. Making it right starts with how they show up. His fingers drummed once on the tray, impatient rhythm. He looked at me like the answer should bend. His phone lit with a family call, faces tiled and eager. Open the camera, his mother's voice pressed through bright and loud. Let us see the newborn, we deserve this moment. I tapped the red button and ended the call. His mouth opened, then closed on the lesson. A volunteer arrived pushing a cart of wrapped bundles. Delivery for your room, the ribbon held a neat card. I read the first line and passed it back. Returned to the front desk, my tone left no space. Small glitter fell as she turned the cart around. The pediatrician checked reflexes with brisk, confident motions. Strong latch, clear lungs, you're both good for discharge. Name for the bracelet update, she prompted with a pen. We'll give it at paperwork, I said, voice cool. Some things you guard until people act right. At the desk I asked for a privacy flag. Block directory lookups and restrict visitor badges. The clerk blinked twice and reached for a supervisor. Policy printed, then stamped confidential in thick letters. Another lock because the next knock would test it. Security called 10 minutes later with a calm tone. 2 relatives asking for entry to your room. Not authorized, I answered, steady and quick. A murmur rose outside, sharp voices pushing rules. The line clicked off, boots moved down the hall. My phone filled with audio bubbles stacked in a column. Her voice poured through one, wet and theatrical. You are freezing us out of our own blood. I saved the file and titled it with the time. Patterns matter when you draw lines later. He stood by the window with his shoulders drawn tight. This feels like punishment, he murmured into the glass. It's protection, I said, and lifted the baby. They can apologize here without an audience. He watched the door and didn't answer. We learned the car seat buckle with a quick lesson. The nurse checked the straps and signed the release. Congrats, she said with a firm nod that landed. We wheeled past the station and out to the curb. Fresh air tasted like a challenge more than a reward. Across the driveway, a familiar profile turned our way. Her head jerked when she spotted the bassinet wheels. He stiffened and shifted to block their path. Different exit, I told the attendant, short and crisp. The chair pivoted left and gained speed. We cut through a side corridor with automatic doors. A rattling trolley slowed them behind us, tiny mercy. He hustled ahead to open the final barrier. I stepped into the lift and hit close with my elbow. The gap narrowed while footsteps approached fast. In the garage, we slid into the backseat together. I clicked the harness and leveled my breathing. He checked mirrors with short, nervous glances. A car idled across the lane with windows down. I watched the lane and counted to 5. The exit arm lifted and we merged into traffic. He reached for my hand and paused midair. Conditions, he managed, voice rough from holding back. I lifted my chin and gave him the 3. He nodded, then gripped the wheel like it burned. At the apartment door, a pile waited against the frame. Boxes stacked like a dare with stickers and bows. I shifted the carrier to my other arm. Leave them outside, I told him without looking. Behind us, the hallway buzzed with an incoming elevator. Inside, I latched the chain and set the carrier down. He hovered near the threshold with his phone buzzing. They're downstairs asking for just 1 minute. Not today, I answered, keeping my eyes on the crib. The buzzer kept humming like it might wear me down. It didn't. The chain strained as the handle jerked, sharp, impatient, relentless. Open up, her breath hissed through the gap. He reached for the latch with a shaky hand. I pressed his wrist down and held eye contact. Ground rules first, or the door stays closed. Silence, then a plastic rustle and a forced laugh. We brought things for the baby, paper scraped across the floor. Step back from the threshold, I said, voice level. A neighbor peeked around the stairwell and lingered. Pressure climbed as footsteps gathered on the landing. He swallowed and glanced at the peephole. They're making a scene, his shoulders tightened to stone. Let me in, she demanded, tone sugary and sharp. Conditions, I answered, I raised 3 fingers. Apology, respect, no recordings inside. Metal tapped the chain, a pause stretched long. That tone won't work on family, her ring clicked twice. Behind her, another voice chimed in, bright, overeager. We just want to bond, a wrist lifted a phone. I angled my camera up and hit record. Filming already, I noted, calm and loud. Delete now or turn around, my stance didn't shift. The neighbor coughed, D into the tense air. He rubbed his temple and waited for movement. No one moved, then the screen dropped. Fine, a mutter, the chain slid free. They stepped inside with eyes scanning for weaknesses. I pointed to the table and stayed standing. You get 5 minutes, I said, clear and flat. Use them well or use the elevator. She smiled like a challenge and lined in. You owe us access, her hands spread wide. What you owe is courtesy, I answered without blinking. Start with what happened on the call. The room tightened around her unfinished grin. It was humor, she tried, chin tilting high. Stress makes people say wild things, a shrug fluttered. Stress made me drive through contractions, I replied. Her eyes flickered, then settled on the carrier. Control returned to my spine like a switch. He slid a glass across for her and stopped. No one touched it, the message hung heavy. 3 sentences, I told her, counting with knuckles. Own it, name it, promise change. My thumb hovered over the screen, recording every beat. A scoff cut the moment, the father folded arms. Enough drama, hand over the child. He reached forward without waiting for consent. I shifted left and blocked the reach clean. No raised voice, just a wall that wouldn't budge. A small sputter from the crib cracked the standoff. I turned fast and checked the tiny chest rise. A swallow stuck, then cleared with a soft cough. I lifted and patted until breathing smoothed. He watched me work and steadied beside me. See, she pounced, eyes bright with triumph. You need help, you're overwhelmed already. I eased the latch and settled the little body. Help follows trust, I answered, gaze still firm. Trust follows repair, start there. The sister edged back and lifted her phone again. Just 1 photo, she whispered, thumb poised. No, I said and pointed to the door. Photos require consent and context. Her mouth twisted, but the camera dropped. He stepped between them and the crib with purpose. Respect the boundary, he told the room without shaking. Apologize or leave now, his jaw locked. For a second I heard our earlier phone call echo. This time he didn't flinch, and that mattered. Her lips pressed thin, then the line broke. I'm sorry for the comment, she forced out. For minimizing the risk, the father added, gaze down. Say the last part, I prompted, voice quiet. No more jokes, no more pushing, she finished. I held it in the air and tested the weight. Good start, I allowed, not generous, not cruel. You still don't get the baby today. Shock flashed like a slap across the table. Boundaries only work when they hold under heat. The sister's eyes narrowed with quick calculation. I'll post and let people judge, she threatened. I met the glare and lifted my phone slightly. Everything here is documented, I reminded, steady and slow. Try me and watch it backfire. They gathered their pride with clipped movements. No one touched the gifts near the door. She paused on the threshold and looked over her shoulder. We'll revisit this tomorrow, a thin smile cut. Revisit without respect and you stay outside. The latch clicked, the hallway swallowed their noise. He braced his hands on the table and breathed. I backed you, he said, voice hoarse but sure. I nodded once and checked the sleeping face. Today held, but the next knock was already loading. The group chat pinged twice, then exploded with clapping gifs. A fresh post tagged me without my name. Cruel new mom keeps family away, the caption begged for pity. I took a breath and dropped 3 screenshots. The typing bubbles froze like they hit a wall. He read the thread with his thumb clenched white. Family dinner tonight, they want to talk. Here, I answered, already opening the calendar. No phones on, 5-minute timer, clear agenda. He nodded once, then messaged the terms without a smile. We set 2 chairs and a quiet surface between them. I placed a looped recorder on the table without commentary. Transparency, I said, tapping the red light. Anyone who walks in knows we're documenting. His mouth tightened, but he didn't argue. The buzzer droned once, then again longer. He checked the lens and buzzed them upstairs. She entered first with a brittle grin. The father lingered behind, arms tucked close. The sister slid in last, eyes hunting angles. Start, I said, and tapped the timer. Her jaw flexed while she arranged her face. We were unkind, we minimized risk, we chased attention. The words scraped out like gravel across teeth. I waited for the part that mattered. We want weekly visits, the father cut in. 2 evenings and 1 weekend, his shoe tapped hard. Visits require trust, I answered, steady and slow. Trust requires repair you haven't done. The timer ticked louder than any clock. The sister reached for her bag and pulled papers. Guardianship contingency, she announced with a bright flare. In case you spiral from stress or fatigue. I stared at the signature line and then at her. You brought custody talk into my living room. He pushed the papers back with 1 finger. Absolutely not, his voice hitting steel. You leapfrogged right over basic decency. Her glare swung to him like a slap. He didn't blink and the room tilted. My phone lit with a new alert mid-standoff. A DM from a stranger repeating their smear. Your kid deserves a real grandma, the words pulsed. I held the screen up, then faced the 3. Clean up the mess you made online. She hesitated, thumbs hovering, pride fighting gravity. Then the phone unlocked with a resigned flick. The post vanished, but comments still spread. Issue a correction, I pressed, voice clipped tight. Name the harm, say it without excuses. Her breath came shallow, then a short statement appeared. We crossed lines, we mocked danger, we're working to repair. I watched it publish and refresh. Fewer hearts, fewer cheers, enough witnesses. The timer beeped, the 5 minutes died hard. Reset, I said, tapping again for round 2. No drop-ins, no recording inside our home. Emergency means actual emergency, he added, shoulders squared. The father's face puckered, pride bristling against limits. Family doesn't need appointments, he muttered toward the floor. Family earns access, I countered, keeping my hands still. You opted out when you gambled with pain. Silence pressed on the little room until it ached. A soft whimper lifted from the crib like a warning. I pivoted, settled the small body against my chest. She watched the feeding settle into rhythm. Emotion flickered across her features and then hid. Let us hold the baby now, her palm hovered. I tilted back just enough to make the point. Trust is built across weeks, not seconds. The sister bristled and rolled her shoulders tight. Then we're still locked out, she concluded, eyes narrow. That depends on your next choices, I answered. Keep the correction pinned for 30 days. Reach out before visiting, no more surprise tests. The father's jaw cracked as he worked it. I'll consider that, he grunted, eyes avoiding mine. Consideration isn't action, I replied without raising volume. We need proof, not promises. He picked up the papers and folded them twice. They rose in a cluster, pride dented but intact. At the door she paused long enough to search my face. There's a holiday next month, she ventured with caution. Traditions matter, kids need them. Kids need safe adults more, I answered, firm and plain. When the latch clicked, he exhaled like air returning. We're not done with them, he murmured, gaze still distant. We're not, I agreed, checking the tiny fingers. We just stopped the freefall. He leaned close and listened to the quiet settle. Minutes later my phone buzzed with a new post. Her correction pinned high, comments softening under it. A private message arrived, short and unadorned. We will follow the rules moving forward. No apology word used, but movement finally. I stood at the window and watched the street. The picture shifted from siege to standoff. I didn't relax, I adjusted. Next step would demand something heavier than words. Next step would ask them to show up sober. The buzzer blared during a latch, sharp enough to jolt my grip. Emergency downstairs, her voice crackled through the speaker. What kind? I kept my tone flat and slow. A rash photo looked scary, paper shuffled near the mic. Not urgent, I answered and cut the line hard. I texted a clear option with timestamps and rules. Supervised visit at the pediatric office tomorrow morning. Hands washed on arrival, no phones, no surprises. He forwarded it without edits and locked his screen. A single word came back from them, agreed. Check-in ran tight and a nurse clipped our wristbands. They showed late and tried to drift past the desk. I pointed to the sanitizer pump and waited. She hovered, then pressed once with theatrical sighs. The nurse clocked everything and stayed within reach. Weigh-in started and the little body squirmed. A palm appeared near the blanket without permission. Pause, I said, shoulders square and unblinking. Wash up there, then ask before touching. Her eyes flashed, but she moved to the sink. The father leaned near the scale with a smirk. We've done this before, he murmured toward the nurse. The nurse didn't glance up or grin. Parent of record handles decisions today. His smirk fell off and hit the floor. A cheerful chirp sounded behind us like bait. The sister had a camera half raised already. Her thumb hovered near the broadcast icon. Stop recording, I said, voice low and steady. Security turned the corner before she could blink. She argued soft, then bolted toward the elevator. Security paced with unhurried steps until she faded. The door, thumped shut and quiet, returned. My pulse slowed enough to catch my breath. Calm never lasted long around them, never. The pediatrician reviewed measurements and scribbled concise notes. Minor irritation, keep it dry, apply ointment twice. Perfectly normal, she added, eyes kind and firm. Relief washed through my ribs like a warm towel. I tucked the instructions and logged the time. See, she missed it, the mother snapped too quickly. You needed us to notice, her chin tilted high. I opened my phone and pulled up entries. Photos, feeding intervals, temperatures, all dated clean. The doctor nodded once and the accusation wilted. He shifted closer to my shoulder and stayed there. I'm satisfied with the plan, he told the room. No wobble, no glance for permission. That steadiness steadied me back. Their faces tightened as leverage slipped. I laid a single page on the counter. Simple terms, no posting, no drop-bys, limited windows. Ownership of medical decisions rests with us. A family safety clause for true emergencies only. Sign if you want ongoing visits, I said. The father scanned and barked a humorless laugh. You think we sign contracts for blood? Not blood, I answered with a calm breath. Behavior, boundaries, stop, repeat injuries. The pen sat between us like a fuse. She stared at the line and chewed her lip. A long minute passed with air stretching thin. Her hand shook once, then steadied on the barrel. A signature formed, jagged but legible. The father paused, then followed with a glare. I slid the copy into my folder and zipped it. Today ends at the desk, I told them clean. No holding yet, we're building trust over time. Her nostrils flared as if burned by soap. We will revisit sooner than you think, she hissed. On the way out, she drifted near my ear. Grandparents' rights exist, she breathed like a warning. Courts love tradition, the father added with a shrug. I didn't flinch, I held the carrier tight. The nurse's eyebrows climbed as witness and shield. In the garage, my phone pinged twice in quick succession. A screenshot of a draft letter hovered on the screen. A demand for access masked as concern. He read it once and then again, slower. We talk to counsel tomorrow, he decided without wobble. Back home, I positioned a small camera toward the entry. He angled another toward the stairwell and tested alerts. We logged the date on the agreement and saved copies. My muscles finally unclenched in short bursts. The peace felt earned, which made it fragile. A soft coo bubbled from the crib and tugged me forward. I checked the tiny chest rise and felt heat drain. My phone vibrated again with an unknown number. Voicemail transcribed 2 words that landed like a gavel. See you soon, then the line went dead. A hard knock landed, then another, then a measured voice. Welfare check, a badge hovered in the peephole. My pulse jumped, but my mouth stayed calm. 1 minute, I called, already opening the camera app. Someone wanted proof that I would break. I unlatched the chain and waved them inside. Report of neglect, the taller one stated with paperwork. We need to see the infant and feeding area. I gestured to the crib and lifted the chart. Vitals logged, schedules logged, everything timestamped in ink. They watched the latch, the burp, the steady breath. One officer softened, then hardened again like training demanded. Caller referenced reckless behavior during labor, he noted crisply. Anonymous, he glanced toward the hallway as if listening. I slid the voicemail across his path like a card. See you soon, the transcription glowed on the screen. I added the signed agreement and the online correction. Context, I said, throat tight but even. He nodded once, wrote fast, and stepped back. No issues found, he concluded, voice clipped and neutral. The door shut on their boots and silence cracked. He sagged into a chair and rubbed his face. They escalated to police, he muttered, fury steady. We move first, I answered, already opening email. Cease and desist drafted, meeting request to counsel sent. The buzzer blared again, long and theatrical. Her voice filled the speaker with sugary outrage. We heard cops were there. Is the baby safe? Perfectly safe, I replied, finger firm on talk. The check was malicious, do not come up. Stop dramatizing, the father snapped through the grill. Let us fix this in person, shoes scuffed below. Fix it by owning the stunt, I said flatly. Then we discuss a tiny, supervised visit. Footsteps paced like caged animals in the lobby. A message landed from her number before the next knock. We didn't call, the text insisted in clipped bursts. Maybe a neighbor reported your behavior, another bubble popped. I sent a screenshot of the voicemail and waited. 3 dots flashed, then disappeared into digital guilt. I wrote 3 conditions on a sticky and read them. The written apology with specifics, posted and pinned 30 days. Donation receipt to emergency rideshare funds for laboring parents. Confirmation that all relatives removed any past smear. Complete that, then request 15 minutes outside, I added. Silence flowed through the speaker until it hissed. That's extortion, the father barked, pride leaking through. It's amends, I answered, heat under control. The line cut, the lobby went quiet. Either retreat or sprint, nothing in between. Upstairs, alerts pinged in a nervous cluster. Sister's account blinked alive with a new caption. Prayers for a fragile situation, the post suggested coyly. I flagged it and saved the screen. My jaw locked against the old pattern resurfacing. 2 hours later, a new text arrived from her. I will write the apology now, the words stumbled. I will make the donation today, another line followed. No recordings if we meet, she pleaded after that. Outdoors only, I replied, keeping the leverage clean. We met in the courtyard with security by the gate. She arrived without entourage, hands empty and shaking. She held a folded page that crinkled like nerves. I minimized danger, she read, voice stripped bare. I harmed trust, I commit to different behavior. A small pause cracked the shell of my chest. I passed sanitizer and watched her swallow it down. 2 minutes, I said, raising my wrist like a ref. She nodded, touched the tiny toes, then froze. Her eyes watered, but her grip stayed gentle. He hovered an arm's length to my right. No coaching, no rush, just watchful stillness. I counted softly as the little mouth yawned. When the timer buzzed, she stepped back on instinct. No pleading, no snatch, that mattered more than words. The gate clicked open and ruined the balance. The sister slid in quick, phone half hidden near her sleeve. A flash blinked before security could pivot. Delete that, I said, the demand cutting clean. Her smile tilted, then collapsed under the guard's frown. Camera, the guard ordered, palm steady and waiting. She hovered, then surrendered it with a jerky motion. The clip played, then vanished under his thumb. Out, he directed, pointing back to the sidewalk. Her glare carved the air, but she backed out. We regrouped at the bench without looking away. I can keep her off my page, the mother offered. Keep her off mine as well, I countered quietly. And stop speaking for us online. Her lips pressed together, then parted in a nod. The father appeared on the curb with a lawyerly folder. Grandparent visitation statutes, he announced like a trophy. Security shifted closer and crossed her arms. You're breaching the agreement right now, I reminded him. Leave materials with counsel, not with me. He blustered, then hesitated when no one flinched. Finally, he set the folder on the far bench. I will review with our attorney, I said. He stared at the baby, then at the ground. The fight leaked out, but the habit stayed. We ended on a hand wash and 2 curt nods. She mouthed thank you to the tiny face. I lifted the carrier and felt my back square. He fell in step, one palm steady on my shoulder. The gate latched behind us like a line drawn twice. Upstairs, I opened my laptop and typed the title. AITA for refusing their help after they gambled with nature. My fingers hovered over submit while the baby sighed. I didn't want strangers to judge me, not really. I wanted a chorus loud enough to keep the door shut.